Hello and welcome to Moment of Truth on Labour Social. I'm Graham Hughes. Now, yesterday, tiny Rishi Sunak made a giant tit of himself in what's been described as a train wreck of a speech as he stood up for 1 hour in front of the Tory party hateful and spouted some of the biggest load of bollocks I've ever heard. A cowardly mix of climb downs, U-turns, bullshittery, culture war nonsense, dog whistle politics and potential hate crimes. It's hard to pick the worst part of it all, and obviously him sacking off the northern leg of HS2, the railway that was supposed to go to Manchester, while in a former railway station in Manchester, has been the part that most pundits have focused on. But there were two parts of his speech that really stood out to me as emblematic of the huge problem that the nation is currently facing. And that problem is the Tory party. First of all, he decided to have a pop at disabled people, implying that they are work-shy layabouts. He went on to threaten to cut their benefits should they not get back to work. He seems to think that work brings freedom. Now, where have I heard that one before? Never mind the fact that there are 7.68 million people waiting for NHS treatments right now, many of whom will be off work because they're waiting for that treatment. Never mind that many disabled people were either born disabled or became disabled through illness or as a result of an accident, and some will never be able to work in the kind of jobs that we are seeing mass vacancies in right now: nursing, hospitality, transport, etc. Never mind that many of those on long-term disability allowances are suffering from mental health problems, and to add to the stress of potentially having what little benefits they have got being cut even further by some of the richest people in the country is nothing short of grotesque. Let me make myself very clear. People will die. Instead of doing the right thing, doing the good thing and encouraging people who can maybe work a few hours a week from home, saying your benefits are safe and anything you work for above that is a bonus within reason. They have gone instead for the full Nazi eugenic stroke Idi Amin tactic of demonising disabled people as somehow unworthy of our love and support, mischaracterising them as people who just can't be bothered. In the last few years, we have seen cases where people have been denied benefits for not looking for work while they are being treated for terminal cancer. But this is the way with the Tory party. They don't believe in incentives. They don't believe in investing in people. They don't believe in equality. They just want to stick to whip people who were born into or have fallen into situations less fortunate than the braying, privately educated ruling elite that absolutely dominates the policies, media, top jobs and political discourse of this painfully deferential nation of haves and have-nots. The other minority singled out by Sunak for ridicule and abuse was trans people, as our Prime Minister, in the full gaze of the world's media, broke the 2010 Equalities Act by declaring a man is a man and a woman is a woman. That's just common sense. It's not enough for these vampires of Eton, Harrow and Winchester to poke fun at an increasingly marginalised and demonised part of our population. They don't even want to acknowledge that trans people exist, or if they do, they regard them as somehow less than human. I can't adequately put into words how angry this makes me. I've got messages from trans friends and from people in the trans community who say they are scared to leave their homes because of the constant bombardment of attack on trans people that have ramped up in the last few years. Reported hate crimes against the transgender community have risen nationwide by 11% in the last year and by 22% in Wales. And as only a small proportion of incidents are actually reported, the real figures would be much higher. Sneers, microaggressions, cruel and hurtful comments every single day since the likes of J.K. Rowling, Graham Linehan and Lawrence Fox decided to make it their life's mission to bully, belittle and vilify the trans community. The Home Office has admitted today for the first time that this rise in transphobia was in some part fueled by politicians. Politicians who have, for political gain, publicly abused and ridiculed people who identify as trans. And here we have Rishi Sunak, the leader of the Conservative Party and the leader of this country, weaponising hatred towards trans people in order to score cheap points to his cheap audience of braying arseholes at his first and last ever conference speech as leader of the Tory party. This comes after Andrew Boff, the Tory chair of the London Assembly, was thrown out of Suella Braverman's speech by the police for mildly objecting to her vile transphobia. He afterwards said, "It's making our Conservative Party look transphobic and homophobic. Our party has a proud record of standing up for LGBT plus rights, and she is destroying it." She's not alone in that. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Tories don't know how to build anything. All they know is how to destroy. The record increase in transgender identity crimes comes after a nationwide survey found British people are growing less accepting of transgender people. Just 67% of those surveyed by the National Centre for Social Research described themselves as not prejudiced at all against transgender people, a decline of 18 percentage points since 2019. Just 30% of people think that someone should be able to have their sex on their birth certificate altered, down from 53% in 2019. I just want to make this plea to anyone watching this who sees themselves as progressive, who sees themselves as left-wing, who sees themselves as on the right side of history. If you are flirting with transphobia, please stop. Look around. See who is on the same side as you. I very much doubt you'll enjoy marching alongside them. The same abuse that is being targeted towards transgender people is what was used in the 1980s against gay people. I was a child at the time, but I remember how gay people were demonized by politicians, by the press, by bigots who claimed they were just speaking common sense. The exact words used by Rishi Sunak yesterday. They weren't speaking common sense. They were speaking hate. Hate-filled, bigoted arguments to say that people who are different to the majority in some way shouldn't be allowed in public spaces because of the assumption that they may be criminals, guilty until proven innocent. Trans people, people who just want to live their lives without being blamed for all the ills of society, used as a political wedge issue for this bullshit, phony culture war of the Tories, Trump, Putin, and every neo-Nazi on the planet. Don't fall for it. Transphobia is not feminism. In fact, it's the very opposite of feminism. Feminism is a cause that strives for equality and acceptance. This vile bigotry is nothing more than a propagation of hate for political gain. Let me know what you think in the comments below.